I'd like to address the question to the three people on the right side, that is against the motion. Mr. Feigen and Mr. Hue-Williams made a number of quite specific assertions about the way auctions are manipulated and conducted and the way auction houses behave, and none of the three of you responded directly to those assertions. Could I ask you to do so?
I suppose I should take that one first as the auction house person on this panel.
Amy Cappellazzo.
First, I would like to say the only area of the art world that is regulated is the auction business, funny enough. So the assertion on this side that the auction business, like, you know, even Mr. Rosenkranz in his comments in the beginning brought up the auction houses as somehow, you know, being involved in something not entirely transparent or understandable. The truth is it's the only area that's regulated, and in fact, the entire market is Byzantine. And the only, like, you know, little glimmer of transparency comes when you watch a live auction and watch something trade in real time. So you can sort of understand the depth of market, how many people might be bidding. You might not know who's bidding or what exactly is going on, but you might count there's 1, 2, 3, 4 telephones on that or what's going on. I mean, certainly I don't think everything you're hearing on this panel, while they're saying part of what makes the art market susceptible to unethical behavior is the fact that it's unregulated, nobody on this panel would cry for regulation. That would just be it's too small a market to care in most cases. I think that's really why we're not regulated. But also just from a sort of, you know, New York would, Christie's would simply transfer me to London or Paris, cities that would make sure there was no regulation, and we would, you know, I would be relocated over there, and New York would have no real trading floor by which to operate that way.
Wasn't that the claim when the question, probably before Amy, before you were born, but I remember back in the, was it the 60s or 70s, when the issue was brought up about chandelier bidding,
right.
Okay? And they threatened, the auction houses threatened to leave New York City if they passed any regulation against this phantom bidding, which is designed to make people think there's a competitor
just so
when
you know,
there isn't one.
For the purpose of the audience, I'll explain what chandelier bidding is, which is the auctioneer is allowed to bid on behalf of the seller up to the reserve price. So the point of an auction is that sort of canter and lively chatter that goes on where it goes 100, 150, 200, 250, and you have to get a little momentum going. You can't say, we're opening the bidding at 600. Anyone? No bid? Boom, it's over. So the auctioneer is allowed to bid on behalf of the seller and take bids, whether they exist or not, until they get close to the reserve price. That's part of the dance of the auction, part of the momentum, part of the theater that goes into it.
It was theater.
Right.
And when I said, if I want theater, I'll go down either to off-Broadway
You'll go to Broadway and you'll
or
have a little theater. I get it, right, exactly. Beautiful. You'll have a little theater that way. You know, the auction is an ancient form. It's not something we invented in this format. It's been around for thousands of years.
No, Andy, I don't think that the chandelier bidding existed in early years when I started out. All I know is...
They also didn't print estimates, and it was entirely dealers in the room.
Amy,
so
when a new buyer comes along and he doesn't have the knowledge of the market or of values, he goes to auction. And why? Because it gives him a measure of value. Now, he goes in there and he bids. If he thought that his bid could not get the object because the reserve is higher and the bidding was fake, he wouldn't bid. But they make him think, because they say, oh, there's a bid over there, there's a bid over there, there's a bid on the telephone.
Look,
all this is your drama. All this is your theater, but the fact is, it is meant to deceive that buyer into thinking he has a competitor when he really doesn't. And so, if all
the rules, listen, I'm not sure I can take on auction as a format. It's an ancient method of selling, and it's really, you know, I'm not sure someone walks into Feigen Gallery and has a fabulous experience of transparency when they're told what the price is on something. Or, you know, in the case of auction, there's a printed estimate. There's sort of a lively public discussion about why that might be the estimate. There's a lot of people that novice collector can go ask and find out why the estimate is this. There's all sorts of databases they can search. There's a lot of self-education someone can do on their own behalf.
Are you telling me that he shouldn't bid until he gets up to the low end of the estimate?
I would tell him all the time what the strategy is. The auctioneer can take bids to get the sort of rhythm going until he hits the reserve price.
Check
The
close.
reserve price can be at the low estimate or lower.
Check close.
If you want it, be ready.
Anyone who knows me knows I'm not a big fan of auction houses. I'm sorry, Amy, but not for these reasons, and not for the reasons that are part of a kind of arcane business practice that I don't think very many of us know or care about. What bothers me is that all an auction price means is that there were two people there that night who thought that that's what it was worth. And that's what's destructive in the art world, because a dealer will look at the artist's career and know that he or she cannot ask the most they can possibly ask for that painting that day, because it's going to screw up that artist's career for years to come.
Look, a work of art is only worth what someone can ask for it until it resells. Then you know what it's really worth.
No, you don't know what it's really worth.
From a financial standpoint, from a monetary
standpoint. You know that
standpoint.
two people that night thought that that was what
Look,
it's
these
worth.
are thinly traded markets, but so are the markets for commercial real estate, nuclear reactors, rocket ships. These are also thinly traded
We're going to go to another question from the audience, sir.
Thank you.
And remember to hold that mic pretty close. That's good.
Thank you very much. To return to the question itself, it seems self-evident that because of the absence or the limited amount of regulation, that the potential as opposed to the practice in the art market is far greater for unethical behavior, as Adam Lindemann was pointing out. So I think that the answer hinges more on what sorts of people are drawn into the art market as opposed to the stock market. And Jerry Saltz said something very interesting earlier about how he thought that the people in the market might be missing a chromosome, the same chromosome.
Art dealers, I thought, were all missing the same chromosome.
Okay, now, I don't know, is that the same chromosome that is missing in the stock market?
No.
People involved in the stock?
Can I take that as your question? It's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, we see your point. So do you want to take that, Jerry?
Very quickly, that's Jason Kaufman, a very good writer. I'm going to say that I don't... Look, of course there's unethical behavior in the art market. I want to go back to this question. I would never say there isn't. I mean, I'm sure people want to make money. But if just because there is unethical behavior, I ask you, is its behavior less ethical than the stock market? I'm again asking for your better angels to understand that, of course, this exists. So the second you feel like, oh, God, yeah, there's people manipulating the prices, well, that's true. I don't think our side is arguing against that idea. But we're saying that's not what it is. That does not become the definition of it and make it worse than the worst thing that's happened in the United States in 45 years, for God's sake. If you really want to make that comparison, whoa, you really hate the art world. You think we are really Khomeini or something, which is fine.
Question from the rear.
It'd be sadistic to be here.